can be hard for so many of us to just be. Why is that so hard? Today I feel called to talk to that, the challenges and intricacies in being versus doing. It seems that we are constantly torn between this balance between the doing which society demands of us so deeply and consistently to have to constantly keep up with all the daily tasks, the upkeep just to live in this world. Even if we're not working 9 to 5, we've still got houses to maintain, bills to keep up with, loved ones to care for. The doing just seems to never really stop, particularly in Western society. And so where does this space or time for being fit in amongst all of that? Because it really does often seem just like an idealized concept to just be. And while I would never suggest that we neglect those needs, neglect the daily living tasks, the need for most of us to earn an income or look after loved ones, or just look after the space that we reside in, it doesn't mean that we can't infuse both, and that having to choose between being or doing is not a necessity. But certainly we are programmed to lean more into the doing. Pretty well from birth, we are getting reinforcement from the world, certainly in our younger years, around the importance of doing. We witness our parents doing all these tasks for us, and then when our verbal skills come online, we are taught about the things that need to be done, and our schooling systems continue to reinforce that need for doing. And we can't deny that. We are three-dimensional beings. We operate in the physical world. So to neglect that and to deny those 3D doings would certainly be unwise. But we also don't have to just swing all the way to the other end of the scale and become Buddhist monks meditating, 18 hours a day as the alternative. Moving into a state of being doesn't have to come at the cost of operating in the 3D world or coming from a space of doing. In fact, I would encourage you to look at the being versus doing in a similar way that the yin-yang symbol represents the masculine and the feminine. For those of you that aren't particularly aware of what the symbol represents, that yin-yang symbol having half the circle white with the small black dot and half a circle black with a small white dot, is representing that the balance of two halves can also have within it qualities of the other half. So in the more traditional explanation of the yin-yang symbol, it would be that the masculine being the qualities that are around drive, achievement, focus, forward progress, strength, etc., sit alongside the feminine qualities of nurturance, compassion, love, support. And then within each of those halves of the yin-yang circle, there is also elements of the other quality that can be embedded. So within someone in connecting with masculine traits of drive and force and doing, there can still be this softer element, the white circle inside, a compassionate or more gentle aspect woven into the experience of the driven doing. And then on the other side, the feminine, softer, nurturing, maybe slowed up experience can still have within it that darker circle of the masculine. So maybe we can even look at the state of being and taking time out to be, whether that be through meditation, connecting with nature, breath work, etc. On some level, it is still doing something. It is still progressing us forward, not with that intention necessarily as you sit down to be in the moment and to meditate or connect with nature. But in effect, it is still progressing us forward or evolving us by taking those being moments. And so this beautiful dance of taking moments of stillness, or even having to do but bringing a certain type of presence, a certain element of maybe mindfulness to the doing, can still weave these two elements beautifully into our everyday life so that we get the best of both worlds, really. That we can be moving forward with the everyday three-dimensional tasks while still holding on to this sense of curiosity and awe and appreciation that come from more of a state of being. And equally feel that taking time out to recharge and just not be progressing towards anything consciously is actually helping us progress on our journey through life, paradoxically. Personally, this has been an area that I've had to grapple with and work through over my 25 years of personal growth focus. Certainly, I can see that my early life programming really brought in aspects or parts of my personality that I would refer to as the achiever part or the planner part and the planner part. Both those parts are significant aspects of my psyche, and that those parts, when allowed just to run free, will continually be looking for the next thing, particularly the planner. The planner, for me, is always keen to look ahead for what's next. Always looking for the next, most of the time, good thing. Looking for something positive to look forward to, which isn't a bad thing by any stretch. I love that part of me has that focus, and it helps me in that way. But if I'm to sit down and engage in a meditative moment and find a moment of stillness, that part has challenged me. And some people like to refer that as the monkey mind in their attempts to meditate, thinking that they're failing because those sorts of thinking-based aspects like the planner or the achiever like to get involved in these moments of slowed down inner introspection and inner focus that come from meditative practices. And the the fact of it is, those parts of me will never be gone, nor do I wish them to be gone. They serve their purpose, and the more that I've learned to love those parts of myself, honor them, talk to them. So if I'm seeking to take time out to meditate as part of my daily routine, and my planner part gets involved, sometimes I need to just let it have some airplay, let it have my focus, acknowledge what it's bringing up for me, and then respectfully ask for it to settle back and allow me to access other aspects of myself. And the more I do this, the easier it gets. Whereas early on in my meditation practice, it was almost like I felt like I was failing in some kind of way if I wasn't taming that part, and that I expected it to just remain silent while I engaged in any kind of introspective practice like meditation. For me also, this concept of coming into a state of being and observing the present moment. When I was first introduced to mindfulness, I certainly saw it as a very useful, I guess, tool initially, if I'm honest. That I probably looked at it from the perspective of what it could offer my clients in my work, and the benefits of mindfulness or presence as a technique for stepping back from thoughts, slowing down the focus on the internal and putting it more into the present to take away from the unhelpful effects of excessive focus on thoughts and feelings, and didn't see it as much more than that. Or from a spiritual perspective, I naively saw it as a very, I guess, basic practice that the more spiritually evolved of us build off and get far more expansive with. And in recent years, I've really come to see the folly in that way of looking at things, and that presence, that the being state, that access to the now in a deeply appreciative, receptive, open, surrendered way is the core of a powerful spiritual path, really. That this is where I access my intuition more fully. This is how I access gratitude in ways that uplift my energy and take me out into the world in ways that I perhaps only knew as a concept previously. But the more that I embody this deep, loving appreciation of the moment as it is, and for all the wonder that it brings, whether it be externally to me and the birds and nature around me, or whether it be that it helps me to just check in and realign with the love that is always there in my heart. All the insights and the subtle whisperings that are seeking to guide me, that all comes from presence and being. And so, for those of you that might have been like me, right, and viewed the focus on the present moment as simply a nice time out or a moment of maybe stepping away from thoughts or something, it's relatively sort of superficial. I hope my story inspires you to look at it in a different way, perhaps. And now I'd like to invite you to have an experience of this doing versus being dichotomy, if you are willing to, with a little exercise. I tend to find that these exercises work best with eyes closed, so I will close my eyes as I guide you. But if you wish to keep your eyes open or just listen to where it goes rather than participating, of course, that is your complete free will, and I will offer this to those who seek to engage. So I invite you to close your eyes now, as I will, and just take a few fuller breaths, because breathing a bit fuller and observing the rise and fall of your chest and your abdomen is certainly a very simple and powerful way to get access to presence, to observing this now experience with curiosity. We're breathing all the time, yet we're not generally paying attention to the breath with much curiosity because it's happening automatically. But if in this moment you just notice the details of the rise and fall of your chest and your abdomen, or how the air feels going in and out past your nostrils or lips, or even the way the air sounds moving in and out, you already come into a state of being to some extent, and observing, noticing space. But then I invite you to deliberately think ahead to either what you're doing with the rest of your day, or tomorrow, if it's later in the day for you. And just notice what happens when you deliberately start to look ahead to what you've got coming up, perhaps. So for me, that would be my planner part. And it will sometimes, as it is right now, generating some vague imagery, perhaps of what I'm doing in the morning, such as planning to exercise and then going to work. My images aren't super clear by any stretch of the imagination, very sort of fuzzy images, but I get a sense of them, and the verbal content generally comes in as well, describing I'll do this first and then I'll do that. Oh, tomorrow's Thursday. I generally fast on a Thursday. So verbal and visual planning unfolds for me. Just take a moment to see how yours unfolds. Maybe you can even notice where either the voice inside of you or the images seem to be located. My planning voice or planner voice tends to feel like it comes from the middle of my skull. But then the images that come along tend to feel like they sit just out in front of my eyes. But everyone's different. But for me to have just noticed where those thoughts come from, there has to be another me doing the noticing. And I invite you to do the same. Sense that for you to notice any thoughts, maybe planning ahead, or like me, maybe an achiever part that seeks to achieve things. To be present and for you to be aware of it, there has to be another you doing the noticing. And this you is presumably the same you that you were accessing at the start. It doesn't have an agenda. It's not trying to do anything. This you is simply witnessing, noticing, observing in a very neutral, curious fashion. It's like a video camera that is just there in the background that's recording everything, but not with any music or subtitles or voiceover. It's just neutrally there, taking everything in. And this you, in IFS, we refer to it as self, is simply being. So just be. Although even as you're just being, you can notice the part of you that is doing, that is wanting to do, that is wanting to plan. And you can connect with both and embrace both. The yin and the yang. And just start to bring your awareness back to where you are in time and space again. The physical environment that you're in, if you've got your eyes closed, what you'll see when you open your eyes, and when you're ready, come back in to the room or the space that you're in. So I hope that that was a helpful either moment that you hadn't experienced before or a reminder, because it's very easy to get caught up in this 3D world that we're in and become imbalanced into a state of doing. But we are called human beings for a reason. We're not called human doings. We're human beings. We are both. We are human. Our humanness needs to deal with all the doing. But we are most definitely beings, and it is in the state of being and honouring being that the glorious and magnificent aspects of life can really come into the foreground and fill our hearts. Thank you for watching.